Hello guys, just a quick note to say that this episode is pre-recorded, so if you're wondering why I haven't picked up on the latest piece of Arsenal news, that is why. Okay, let me hand you back to the episode. In this episode, I will be breaking down all the players that I think Arsenal should sell or release this summer, why I think it's time for them to go, and how much money I think we might be able to make off them. It's a summer transfer special. Who should Arsenal sell this summer? This is Arsenal Unfiltered. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Arsenal Unfiltered, your 3 times a week dose of Arsenal coverage with me, your host Mark. Wherever you are, I hope you are well, and I hope your summer has started with lots and lots of sun and you aren't feeling too sad about the loss of Arsenal games and we're not being able to watch the Arsenal. We will of course have pre-season friendlies coming up, but the boys will be on their holidays. Now this episode is a transfer special, but not about who we're bringing in as much as the talk has been. It's about players we might be letting go, and I have a list here that I haven't counted of about 10, 11, 12 players. Surely not. Well, a number of players that I'm going to be going through today. My criteria, for this is: are they probably going to go? Should we be maybe trying to recover that scenario if they're at the end of the contract? Do we let them go off into their new clubs or new free agent life, or should we try and keep hold of them? And should we maybe try and rescue that scenario? Or players that, maybe it's 50-50. Like, let's see what we can do. So I'm going to go through a number of those players today. And of course, we will also be talking very, very soon about who should Arsenal sign. And when we do sign players, we will be reviewing them, scouting them, and kind of trying to find out what we can expect. I'm going to start basically from the back and move forward a little bit. And my final one, I think, is a little bit of a surprise. So stay tuned for that. Let's start Kieran Tierney then. So Kieran Tierney, let's talk about him. Kieran Tierney represents something for me that is quite special about Arsenal. He was the kind of first player that came into that kind of new world of Arsenal, which was post Arsene Wenger. He was the first player that we really connected with, and we all remember his goal against West Brom in the snow. 1, a fantastic goal. 2, a really important moment for the club, turning things around for us when we felt like we were sliding quite dramatically at that time. It's funny how there's little microcosms around that time as well. Emile Smith-Rowe came into the side and produced a great performance against Chelsea, and things just started to turn around. So Kieran Tierney really represented a special player for me at Arsenal, and I thought he would be a future Arsenal captain. Of course, Mikel Arteta came in and kind of didn't end his Arsenal career, but it didn't help things. He's been riddled with injury, he's not been able to play the inverted fullback role, and it's just not quite gone the way that Kieran Tierney would have wanted or Arsenal would have wanted. He's played in 11 Premier League games this season, but only racked up 194 minutes. And for a player of his quality, it's just not enough, is it? Let's be honest. He has still got so much to give a club. He's only 27, soon to be 28, to be fair, but he's only 27, so he's got a very, very good number of years left in him. I think it's time to say a very sad farewell to Kieran Tierney. That is an easy one. His contract is running down. Widely reported he will be going to Celtic. So let's let him go. That's my first. Let him go. Sad farewell, because I really like Kieran Tierney and he's always given his all for Arsenal. Even when he's been asked to come on this season, left wing, left back, he's really worked quite hard and, delivered every so often, delivered a cross that I'm thinking, God, I wish we could see a bit more of that with that wonderful left foot of his. But injuries just mean it is time for him to go. The next player that I'm going to talk about is a player who's currently on loan. Okay, so we know that David Raya is not. He has no backup right now. We got rid of Aaron Ramsdale, of course, and we brought Neto in on loan last summer, and that's clearly not worked, right? He's not trusted by Mikel Arteta. The one game that he did play, it was really not fun. I think it was against Girona, and he tried to handle the ball outside of the box, of course. It was a a strange way to make your debut for sure, and I just don't think that he represents someone that we're going to want to keep, or we're going to want to try and rescue from Bournemouth at all. Like, he is not a player that I think we want. One player we do have though is Karl Hein. He will be coming back from Real Valladolid, and interestingly, he has had a pretty much full season. He's had a bit of an injury recently, but he's had a pretty much full season, and he's done okay at Real Valladolid. I'm just looking at some of his stats now. He has saves per game of 3.1, 58% save rate, so that's not awful. It's not fantastic, it's not awful, but he's been playing in a team that have really, really struggled this year, I believe. I'm just trying to find how they've done. But yeah, the option of keeping Karl Hein is really interesting to me, because and this probably isn't based on anything such as, I think he's a fantastic player, or wow, what an opportunity we've got with this young man. It's mainly based around, he's had a season in La Liga, okay, so he's got probably enough experience to be a backup goalie at Arsenal. And do we have the resources, and I'm talking money and time, to go and do a backup goalkeeper deal? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I think the season in La Liga, fair enough, Valladolid are going down in pretty poor fashion, but that will give him good experience. We're never going to really ask him to play that many games. It will be cup games. It will be inconsequential Champions League games. David Raya is going to be the man, okay? And I just wonder, is there a world where you bring Karl Hein back in and you save yourself 30 million on Joan Garcia, who has been the major rumoured link? We know Inaki Kanya has a massive sway on goalkeeper signings, sometimes brilliantly and sometimes very ineffectively. The David Raya versus, just a whole host of other goalkeepers that we've brought in, right? I'm trying to think of that fella's name. I can't remember his name, but he's brought in some stinkers during his time at Arsenal, as well as David Raya, who's been brilliant. So I think Joan Garcia, it seems like a really good deal if you needed a goalkeeper. And maybe it's legacy planning, because David Raya is, I hesitate to say he's getting on, that feels a bit unfair, but he is older. Obviously, keepers can go a little bit longer than outfield players can, but David Raya is 29, soon to be 30, so maybe it's a bit of legacy planning with the Joan Garcia move, but it's a lot of money and it's a lot of work to get Joan Garcia over the line. Maybe, if we keep Karl Hein, maybe that just safeguards us against that. Can I see Karl Hein going? Absolutely, and I think this will probably be low on the list of priorities. The goalkeeper position, I think it will probably be a late deal, and Karl Hein, if he is to go, will go later on, but I would keep him until the very last minute, because in my opinion, Joan Garcia seems like a fantastic goalkeeper and might be the right guy for Arsenal, in 5-10 years time. But for me, let's keep this summer as simple as we can, because it's very complicated. Not only have we got to sign a lot of players, we've got to sell a lot of players and do a lot of contracts, so it's very difficult. So keep Karl Hein for as long as possible, and maybe loan someone else in if we don't think Karl Hein is good enough. But I would keep him. And another player I would keep is Jakub Kiwior. What a season for Jakub Kiwior. 15 games in the Premier League so far this year. 8 starts. Obviously, has deputised really, really well for Gabriel. Scored a goal, so fair play to him. That was the header against Crystal Palace, and I think he really deserved that. There is rumours, and there have been rumours since Jakub Kiwior joined the club, really, about him going back to Italy. Okay, so AC Milan, Inter Milan have always been linked with him really, really strongly, and that has been a constant theme for Jakub Kiwior in the time that he's been at the club. For me, we could probably turn a profit on Jakub Kiwior now. I think he was £27 million when he came in. I think we'd probably get more for him now with the experience that he's got at Arsenal, the training he's had, and more Polish international caps as well during his time at Arsenal. So I think we could turn a profit on him. But it's a very similar scenario to the Karl Hein thing. Why make a change when you don't need to make a change? I don't think it's going to be sales and profits that are going to just absolutely blow your mind. And we're going to be like, wow, how did we not do this earlier? We've now got so much money. We're not going to be flush with cash because we sold Jakub Kiwior. So don't change. Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So he's a really able deputy to Gabriel, and he knows the team. Yes, we probably need a right-sided centre-back backup. Saliba is kind of on his own there, but could we play Kiwior right-sided centre-back for the odd game? I'm sure we could. And for me, again, let's not add a layer of complexity to a summer that's already going to be really difficult. Let's get him in after pre-season. Let's keep him in the squad, and let's not sell him. Another defender, Alexander Zinchenko. For me, this is easy. Sell. Arsenal have grown past Zinchenko. I think his defensive lapses and defensive vulnerabilities have led him just down the wrong path at Arsenal. £20 million was rumoured in January by Florian Plettengold, I hope I've said his name wrong, of Sky Germany, that Dortmund would be willing to pay for Zinchenko. I don't know if that's gone down now that we're going into the summer. We're going into the final years of Zinchenko's contract, but if we got £15 million for Zinchenko, I'd be really, really happy. Just turn a little bit of money on him. We're not going to make a profit at this point, I don't think. And ultimately, I think he still, whenever he's on the pitch, he shows his worth. The goal against PSV was obviously fantastic. He did really well. He's a very flexible player, but I just think sometimes you have to move on and get things finished and get relationships finished. And Zinchenko really came in and changed our world and improved things for us and made our team a lot better. But we now have him in Miles Lewis-Skelly, but better in my opinion. So look, for me, 15 million quid. If we could get that for Zinchenko, I'd be more than happy. Okay, last one before I go for a quick break, and this one might be controversial. Takahiro Tomiyasu. It's a name you haven't heard me talk about in a while, right? He has been absent this year. He was absent for the majority of last year. And this is the first player on this list that I'm like, I think you would be playing so much if things would be different. I really don't think Kieran Tierney or Kiwior or Zinchenko would be getting that much, regular game time if scenarios were slightly different. I think their roles within the squad feel right for where they've been at this year. Tomiyasu's involvement has been so much less than we would have wanted. I mean, just think how much better our scenario would have been if we could have last year managed Ben White's injuries a little bit better using him, and this year managed Jurrien Timber a little bit better using him as well. Even at right centre-back, I like him there. I like him across the whole of that back four. I think he would have got so much game time this year if he had been available. Would I sell him? That's the question. I'm going to say yes. And the reason I'm going to say yes is the greatest ability is availability. It's a cheesy line, but it is so true. It is so true, and we've seen that so much this year with Arsenal. I would say let's sell him. Let's let him go and repair his career somewhere where maybe the intensity is a little bit lower and he can get through games. Maybe he needs to be at a club that doesn't have European football, even though he is plenty good enough to play in the Champions League. I almost think he needs to get fit and then play one game a week for, like a year, rather than coming in and out of the team and all of this. He needs to get fit and do that somewhere where there isn't European football, so the demands are slightly less. Now, I'm saying I would sell him for that reason. He needs to be available. If you're not available, you're costing us money that we don't really have to spend on players who aren't contributing. I think it is borderline impossible to find a buyer for Tomiyasu, though. Just noting his injury problems, I think he's going to be out. If I'm remembering the reports correctly, he's going to be out until deep into 2025 anyway. So who's going to go for him in the summer? I don't think there's going to be anyone. So I would sell him, but I don't think we're going to get any money for him. Okay, because I don't think there's a buyer out there. So at the moment, I've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players. I've only found us 15 million quid. So that's not ideal. I've found us a little bit of wages. KT going, obviously, and Zinchenko going. That is a big old chunk of wages, probably 300 grand between them per week. Okay, when I come back, we're going to cover Thomas Partey, Leandro Trossard, some of our players who have been out on loan, and maybe we'll talk about Gabriel Martinelli as well. Sorry for interrupting everyone, but I am on a mission and I need your help. I'm trying to get Arsenal Unfiltered into the ears of as many people as possible, and the best way that you can help me do that is by going and leaving a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts at. That really helps me grow the podcast and allows more people to hear the Arsenal Unfiltered coverage 3 times a week. So if you would be so kind to go and leave a review wherever you get your podcast from, I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Welcome back to this episode of Arsenal Unfiltered, a transfer special. Who should we sell this summer and how much will we make from them? Let's start again then with Thomas Partey. In the first half we did Kieran Tierney, Karl Hein, Jakub Kiwior, Zinchenko, Tomiyasu. So we're going to move away from the defensive goalkeeper area of the pitch and move into the midfield and the forward line. Thomas Partey, I'm backwards and forwards on Thomas Partey. I mean, you watch some of the games recently and you think he's a mistake waiting to happen. You think about last season and you think, well, geez, he was never available. His injury problems were really, really extensive and have been across his whole Arsenal career. Then I also think about his talent on the ball and the way he plays on a half turn and the way he can feed that ball out to Bukayo Saka on the right wing, his composure in big moments and against the press. And I think, can we really let him go? And it's a real conundrum with Thomas Partey. For me, we have signed or will have signed Martin Zubimendi. That is, at the time of recording, that is all but confirmed. It seems super, super likely that Martin Zubimendi will be coming to Arsenal and he plays an incredibly similar role to Thomas Partey. So, the question is, can you get Zubimendi to do the job that Partey does? Absolutely, I think you can. Looking at his style, I think that will be achieved. So can you achieve what you want to achieve with Thomas Partey on the bench? I think that's difficult because that's an expensive player to have on the bench. A really expensive player. And I know what people will say. Well, Manchester City have expensive players on the bench. Liverpool have expensive players on the bench. But the other thing you've got to remember about Thomas Partey is he is now 31. And his legs are not getting any younger. This season's availability has been a revelation. But he is an expensive player, 200 grand a week. And he, for me, there is a decent chance that we could be paying him a lot of money next year to, 1, not be first choice, and 2, not be available. So for me, I would be letting him go. He is obviously at the end of his contract. So again, we're finding more wages. I think we're probably up around £450,000, £500,000 per week now, but we're not finding any more money. So Thomas Partey, I would let him go, and this is slightly opposite to my points around Karl Hein and Kiwior, where I'm saying let's not make this more complicated than we need to. Maybe we do need to sign 2 defensive midfielders this year because we'll have Zubimendi coming in, but Partey and Jorginho will be leaving. So I wonder if that's an option. I also wonder if Mikel Arteta's looking at it and going, well, I'll sign Zubimendi, and my 6 cover or my 6 players will be Zubimendi and Rice. And we'll have, at 8, we'll have options of Rice, Marino, plus a new fella. Did a podcast about a month ago. Xavi Simons could be available. Of course, this is pre-recorded, so he may have already moved. But I do like him as a player on that left-hand side. Leandro Trossard. And I'm going to wrap Gabriel Martinelli into this one as well, because I think they come as a pair at this point. I think I've said this a number of times, we need a new left winger. That is the position I would look to go and sign our biggest signing of the summer in. I don't know who that would be right now, but I like the idea of Rodrigo from Real Madrid. So that's a potential. And I don't think we can have a world where you have Leandro Trossard, Gabriel Martinelli, plus another. So who am I picking? Well, I've seen the argument that you'd get more money for Gabriel Martinelli than you would for Trossard, and actually you'd find buyers far easier to come by, and Trossard represents experience. He has an old head on him. Maybe we keep him and he can play up front as well, but for me that's not the case. I think Gabriel Martinelli still has a future at Arsenal. I think he is still a really high potential player. I think he just needs to be taken out of the limelight. I think he needs a player in front of him or to compete with him that is going to drive him forward and make him become a better player. I don't think Trossard has done that for him. I think Trossard he's too different to him. Okay, I think he's too different, and for that reason you can almost always put it down to a stylistic thing as to why one player plays. I think Martinelli needs to be shown, actually, this fella is better than you, and you need to catch him and you need to emulate him. I think that competition in the squad is really healthy, and I'd love to see Gabriel Martinelli come on and play games when he's fresher. Come on against tired legs. come on in the 70th minute and run at people for 20 minutes, but also not have to play every week, right? How good would Gabriel Martinelli be if he didn't have to play midweek, or he didn't have to play at the weekend and he turned up in the Champions League game? I think if he was fresher, a lot of the times we'd see that sharp, razor's edge Gabriel Martinelli that we love. So I would sell Leandro Trossard, and I think if you get £25 million for Leandro Trossard, you have done well. So that takes us up to £40 million, and God knows what in wages right now. We are really clearing the wage budget out. A couple of players who are on loan at the moment. Lokonga, sell him if we can. I mean, he's had some injury issues, so that's going to be really, really tough, but I just don't think he is at the level needed. That would be, now this is an interesting point, that would be a very simple solution to the defensive midfield problem. Could you bring Sambi Lokonga back to be the backup to Martin Zubimendi? I don't know. I don't know enough. I haven't watched him this year. I don't know enough about how he plays anymore. You know, I think going to Arsenal overwhelmed him a little bit to start with. That would be a very simple solution, but if the standard is not there, the standard is not there, and I think that will be a long, hard look in the early weeks of the summer for Mikel Arteta. Does Lokonga have a future here? It would be a simple solution, but I'm doubtful whether it is a solution. Nuno Tavares, he is going. He is being signed by Lazio for, I think, sort of 6-7 million quid. And then Arsenal have a sell-on clause on him as well. So good business from Arsenal, that. 7 million quid didn't really work, but we're going to get 6.5-7 million back, and we're going to get a sell-on clause for him as well. So we will have turned a bit of a profit on Tavares. Don't really know how, but we will. And then one player who I think is fascinating, because he hasn't really torn it up at Porto, is Fabio Vieira. Yeah, really interesting. I think he's got 5 goals, 5 assists, which is not terrible, but it's not what we would want. And for me, I think Fabio Vieira is a player whom the majority of Arsenal fans would be looking to sell, but I want to keep him. And I think there's a very clear reason for that. Ethan Nwaneri is seen at the moment as basically the underdog or the backup to Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard. I think that's a really difficult spot to pick up in the squad, to try and learn 2 positions at once. And we've got to remember, he is 18. He is 18. So as much as I'd love to see him come central early in his career, there is no shame in him having another season at right wing backing up Bukayo Saka. And we've seen this year, we've seen how much the burden of playing too many games has done to Martin Odegaard, right? The injury and then being rushed back and playing too many games since, I should say. Why not keep Fabio Vieira? Because I think the argument for me would be we need another attacking midfielder to be the left 8, okay? Because we can't just always have Declan Rice in that spot. I don't think it works. I think there is a world where we rotate Declan Rice between 6 and 8, depending on the team, and actually maybe also rotate him out when we know it's just going to be an incredibly low block. Why not go with Zubimendi, Odegaard, and a left 8 who is more attacking, creative player? Could be Fabio Vieira, could be Xavi Simons, could be anyone like that. I'm thinking of that sort of player. I'm not saying we're going to get Florian Wirtz, but Florian Wirtz would be another player who I'm like, yeah, perfect, that kind of style. For that reason, I think if you're buying that left-hand attacking midfielder, the only way you can back Martin Odegaard up is if you say, well, we'll start using Rice at right 8. So for me, I'm not sure about that. I kind of like it, I kind of don't. But Vieira fits a really nice squad player bit in the squad where actually he comes in and we just say, you're going to back up Martin Odegaard in the exact same role. And you'll play the cup games, etc., etc. You're going to play that exact same role. Ethan, you are going to back up Bukayo Saka in the exact same role. And we're going to add to our attacking talent by bringing in a left 8 attacking midfielder who is a genuine player who could play alongside Martin Odegaard. That, for me, organises those players really, really nicely. And then leaves Declan Rice, Mikel Merino and Martin Zubimendi to be those more industrious midfielders that, depending on the game and how we work at it, we can slot in. I think however we sign this summer, the base setup for the biggest of big games will be Zubimendi, Odegaard and Rice. And we will work from there. It might be that we take Rice out and we put a more attacking player in there. It might be that we move Rice to right 8 and play our new left attacking midfielder in left 8. It might be that we're doing a lot of rotation and we put Fabio Vieira in. there's lots and lots of different ways of doing it, but for me, the way we should do this is make sure we say to Ethan, you are going to play on the right wing next year, almost exclusively, and then we need 3 attacking midfielders, plus 3 industrious midfielders in the centre. Zubimendi, Rice, Marino, our industrious players, Vieira, Ødegaard, and 1 more as our creative players. That gives you a lovely 6 and a really nice balance, and it means you only need to sign 1 winger as well. And I think if you sign Rodrigo to play on that left wing, you've got a fantastic pool of players. Just having a quick scoot through some of the rest of the squad, and I really don't think there's anyone else who I would be looking to sell or release. Gabriel Jesus will obviously, his place will be under threat. Kai Havertz has been fantastic. We are probably going to sign a new striker, but for this summer, I just don't see it. He's injured. No one's going to move for him. Raheem Sterling will obviously go back from his loan. Jorginho is already confirmed to be leaving. And same as Tavares, probably should have covered him. And then, of course, there will be a number of players who have got contracts coming to an end. I'm thinking the likes of Nathan Butler-Oyedeji. Tommy Setford, he might go out on loan. Jack Porter, he might go out on loan. Some young keepers there. And I guess the other player we need to talk about is Reiss Nelson. I think Reiss is a absolute sell. And if you can't get a sale for Reiss, we need to be working on running down his contract and pardon me, and moving him on. He had his chance at Fulham and he started really, really well, but he's been injured a lot this season, same as so many players. So really unfortunate. So that's how I would do the outgoings this year. Let Kieran Tierney go. I would keep Karl Hein, keep Jakub Kiwior, sell Zinchenko. If you can sell him, but I'm doubtful, I'd sell Tomiyasu. I would let Thomas Partey's contract expire, as same as Jorginho's. I would sell Trossard, keep Gabriel Martinelli, sell Lokonga if we can. Tavares is already out. Get rid of Reiss Nelson, and I would keep Fabio Vieira. Hopefully, guys, we can get all that business done, but it is a huge summer with incomings, outgoings, and contracts to do. So it's a really, really difficult one for Andrea Berta. If you're listening, Andrea, that's what I do. I hope you agree. And that was a transfer special about who we need to sell and release. Like I said in the middle, guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, please do consider leaving a review wherever you get your podcasts from. It really, really helps me grow the podcast, and I'm on a mission to get Arsenal Unfiltered into the ears of as many Arsenal fans as possible. So would really appreciate your help on that. All that's left to say, guys, is thank you for following, thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you very, very soon.